5. MTS Oceanos. MTS Oceanos was a French-built and Greek-owned cruise ship that sank in 1991 when it was hit by uncontrolled flooding. Its captain, Yannis Avranas, and part of the crew were convicted of negligence for escaping the ship without helping the passengers, who were subsequently rescued thanks to the efforts of the ship's artists who made a distress call, lowered lifeboats, and assisted the South Africans. Paratroopers landed on the ship from sea helicopters. All 571 passengers and crew survived. Captain Avranas received extensive media coverage as an example of unprofessional behavior while in command. He stated that he first left the ship to organize a rescue operation and then led the rescue from a helicopter because the batteries in the crew's walkie-talkies were dead, which means that he had no communication with either his crew or other rescue equipment. Shortly after the sinking, he was quoted as saying, "When I order to abandon ship, it doesn't matter what time I leave. Rejection is for everyone. If some people want to stay, they can stay." In 1992, he and 5 other officers were convicted of negligence by a Greek commission of inquiry for escaping the ship without helping the passengers. 4. Mikhail Lermontov. An ocean liner owned by the Baltic Shipping Company of the former Soviet Union, built in 1972 by Germany. On February 6, 1986, Mikhail Lermontov sailed from Sydney at the start of a 2-week cruise around New Zealand with 372 passengers and 348 crew members, for a total of 743 people. On the evening of February 16, the Mikhail Lermontov sailed past Cape Jackson on the northeast coast of the South Island of New Zealand, about 48 kilometers northwest of Wellington. At 17:37, moving at a speed of 15 knots, Mikhail Lermontov hit the rocks about 5.5 meters below the waterline on the port side. By 2030, passengers began to leave the ship with the help of the crew and local rescue boats. Passengers were transferred to several ships in the area. With the onset of darkness in the MS, Mikhail Lermontov rolled further to starboard. Within 20 minutes of rescuing the last passenger, the ship completely disappeared and sank at approximately 22:27, 4 hours and 50 minutes after the grounding. As a result of the sinking, only one person died, 33-year-old crew engineer Pavel Zagladimov, who sank along with the ship. The coroner's report lists his official cause of death as unknown, as his remains were never found. 11 of those rescued received minor injuries. MS Mikhail Lermontov rests where he sank, lying on his starboard side at a depth reaching a maximum of about 38 meters. It is popular with scuba divers and is served by local dive centers in Picton and Kaikoura. It is also one of the largest, most easily accessible, and dive-worthy wrecks in the world. Dives range from an easy depth of 12 meters on top of a wreck to deep penetration and decompression dives to a depth of 36 meters. 3. MS Sea Diamond. MS Sea Diamond is a cruise ship owned by Lewis Hellenic Cruise Lines. It was built in 1984 by Valmet, Finland. On April 5, 2007, at about 4 p.m., the ship ran aground on a well-marked volcanic reef east of Nea Kameni, in the caldera. The Greek island of Santorini began to take on water. It was initially reported that 1,153 passengers, mostly Americans and 60 Canadians, were safely evacuated within 3.5 hours. Some passengers, including a group of 77 students from the Paisley Magnet School in North Carolina, were evacuated from the car ramp through the former car deck to the boats, but some passengers had to climb down rope ladders from higher decks. The ship was towed off the rocks, and its list stabilized. Later it became known that 2 French passengers were missing. The large amount of water taken on board caused the ship to sink on April 6, 2007, just a few hundred meters from the shore. Video footage shows the ship capsizing completely towards the end before settling astern on the seabed. It has been suggested that the deep, nearly vertical shore of the bathtub-like caldera prevented the ship from being landed and saved from total destruction. In October 2017, the Greek Ministry of the Merchant Marine announced that the wreck would be salvaged for environmental and navigational reasons, but for now, it is an artificial reef. 2. Costa Concordia. The liner, operated by Costa Concordia, was one of the largest ships built in Italy in 2005. On January 13, 2012, at 9:45 p.m., the Costa Concordia crashed into a rock in the Tyrrhenian Sea off the east coast of Isola del Giglio. The result was a 50-meter hole on the port side of her hull, which soon flooded parts of the engine room, cutting off power to the engines and ship services. When the water flooded and the ship listed, he sailed back to the island and ran aground near the shore, then capsized to starboard, lying in a precarious position on a rocky underwater ledge. The evacuation of the Costa Concordia took over 6 hours, and of the 3,229 passengers and 1,023 crew known to have been on board, 32 died. Francesco Scatino, the ship's captain at the time, stood trial and was found guilty of manslaughter, causing a maritime accident, and abandoning his ship. 3 years later, the ship was rescued after the incident, and then towed to the port of Genoa, where she was decommissioned. The disposal of the ship was completed on July 7, 2017. The former captain of the ship Costa Concordia, which was wrecked off the coast of the Italian island of Giglio, presumably through his fault, reads a course of lectures at the University of Rome, solving problem situations. 1. MS Herald of Free Enterprise. This is a Ro-Ro-type ferry that capsized just after leaving the Belgian port of Zeebrugge on the night of March 6, 1987, killing 193 passengers and crew. The 8-deck car passenger ferry was owned by Townsend Thoresen and was designed for fast loading and unloading on a competitive route across the English Channel. As was customary at the time, it was built without watertight compartments. The ship left the berth in the inner harbor of Zeebrugge at 1805 with a crew of 80 and 459 passengers, 81 cars, 3 buses, and 47 trucks. She passed the outer pier at 1824 and capsized 4 minutes later. When the ferry accelerated to 18 knots 90 seconds after leaving the harbor, water began to enter the car deck in large quantities. The resulting free surface effect destroyed its stability. In a matter of seconds, the ship began to list 30 degrees to port, then straightened briefly, and then capsized on its side. The entire event happened within 90 seconds. The water quickly reached the ship's electrical systems, destroying both main and emergency power and leaving the ship in darkness. The ship was on its side half submerged in shallow water 1 kilometer from the coast. The crew of a nearby dredger noticed the disappearance of the ship's lights and notified port authorities. They also reported that the bow door seemed wide open. The alarm was raised at 1937 local time. Rescue helicopters were quickly dispatched, and assistance from the Belgian Navy, which was conducting exercises in the area, soon followed. The disaster killed 193 people. Most of the victims were trapped inside the ship and died of hypothermia due to the cold water. Rescue work by divers of the Belgian Navy and the Royal Navy. During the rescue, the tide began to rise, and the rescue team was forced to stop all efforts until the morning. The last of the people on board died of hypothermia. The immediate cause of the capsizing was the negligence of the boatswain's mate, who was sleeping in his cabin when he was supposed to close the forward door. However, the official investigation placed more blame on its leaders and the general culture of bad communication in Townsend. The ship was salvaged, put up for sale, and sold on September 30, 1987, to Naviera Sa Kingstown, renamed Flushing Range. On March 22, 1988, it was taken to Taiwan for disposal. After the disaster, improvements were made to the design of Ro-Ro ships, watertight ramps, indicators showing the position of bow doors, and a ban on the use of undivided decks appeared.